Hello everyone, welcome back to the Ultimate Russia guide here. We have blurred type antenna short. So first we'll go through how to identify a blurred type antenna. So we'll go into one of these locks here and we'll just take a look. We'll full screen real quick and then we'll look at this. As you can see, the antenna is just blurred. And you don't even need to worry about what type it is. It's just a blurred short antenna. So if you see that it's blurred, that's all you really need. There also is a smudge to basically confirm if you have blurred. Sometimes it's hard to tell like if you have blurred or if you don't have blurred. So you can look for this smudge here. It's just going to be like kind of in the front of the car basically and slightly to the left. So if you have that smudge, it's definitely blurred. And obviously stuff like B-type smudges and whatever would look different as well. A-type and C-type, I guess you wouldn't have any smudges, right? So you can use that. All right, guys, and admittedly, I think blurred is pretty hard for me personally. And that's why I was kind of scared to make this video, because I was just like, I don't know, I'm not like, I'm a little out of my depth with blurred, I'm not gonna lie. So basically you have this giant cluster here. I call this the UFA cluster because UFA is kind of in the middle. It's a little to the right technically, but yeah, and it goes all the way up to Perm, over to Chelyabinsk, all the way to, is this Samara? Yeah, Samara. And then you have this southern cluster. So basically when you see blurred, just think it's a 50-50. It's the south or it's UFA. And of course there is some stuff over here as well, which is kind of unfortunate, but yeah, we'll get through this. The south, well, just think about it just like we have in every other kind of antenna, right? Like all of this stuff like that you've been learning already helps you with blurred, right? You look at this, you're like, oh, dark brown agricultural soil, pretty flat with some mountains in certain areas, right? No birch trees. And just like a lot of other types too, this is also autumn coverage down here in the south. So you know, you look at this, just kind of looks like the south, right? Just like in other things. You got these like kind of low-lying bushes as well, although you get that more in Orenburg even. And just trees that aren't trees that aren't birch trees, so like poplars and whatever. If we go to another lock here, yeah, this one, same thing. Dark brown agriculture, mostly flat, some like mountains and stuff, right? No birches. Dry, very dry. Grainier road, that's another thing. So, yeah, basically this whole blurred cluster here, I guess it doesn't go max west, so you can't really go Krasnodar here, which is an interesting part there. So you could hedge like here in the center, or just actually take a riskier guess there. All right, and the part that scares me most here is the UFA cluster, because the UFA cluster is actually quite huge. Some notable regions, I think we'll just go through some notable ones. This Perm region up here, it's all May coverage. Oh, sorry, that's July. North of Perm. So Perm is right here, the city of Perm. And then you have north of it, you can see it's May coverage. And as you can see, the leaves are very light green, kind of yellowish. They just look, I don't know, they look really angelic, just beautiful. That's a very weird mountain over there, but let's just ignore that. But yeah, another thing with Perm is it has like very like red soil usually. This is not the greatest example actually, because this is like some weird pinkish gravel. Not really sure what that's about, but yeah, usually up here you get kind of like reddish soil. It's very hilly in Perm as well. So that's kind of the landscape up here. Yeah, this is a better example. Like it's red soil. It's pretty hilly a little bit, as you can see here. And this is not May coverage because it's not north enough. This is actually July. But yeah, if you do see May coverage, you can click up here with blurred type. Another interesting area here is kind of this Chelyabinsk cluster. So as you would expect, you do get some like birch clusters basically. Like if you go in this lock in particular, yeah, we kind of have some like birch clusterings here. Birch clusterings, is that a word? But anyway, yeah, as you can see, the birches are kind of condensed into clusters sort of. I guess that's just a giant forest over there even, but yeah, you can kind of see it here. And that would lead you far east in the cluster if you see that. So if you have blurred type and birch clusters, maybe try Chelyabinsk. All right, and one area I wanted to make you guys aware of, the southern parts of this cluster kind of look a lot like the south, I can't lie. So I would look for birch trees if you have the chance there. Because like look at this, like you have kind of dry mountains, you do have some birch trees, so maybe you would consider this cluster more. But this is also August coverage. And if you guys remember correctly, the south cluster I think is mostly September. So that's only 1 month difference. It's pretty hard to tell sometimes. And yeah, I mean, honestly, I think this kind of looks a little like the South. You do have some sunflowers, which is kind of a Samara meta. And I think this isn't too far from Samara, to be fair. Yeah, Samara's like over here, and this is over here. It's not too far. But yeah, I mean, this kind of looks like the South a little bit, where it's like it does have those hills. It does have autumn coverage. And yeah, I don't know. It doesn't have that many birches. It is very dry. So it's kind of scary. This area looks pretty similar as well. As you can see, we got some like low-lying bushes, kind of indicative of Orenburg mostly, I'd say. I think those are birches, I believe. It's kind of hard to tell, but I think they have white bark, so probably. But yeah, it's just you got to be a little careful with this kind of stuff. Like, yeah, this I would say I associate like these plants with like Orenburg, so you could get it that way, like these kind of just dead bushes, kind of in autumn coverage. But it is just kind of scary, so be careful of that. One other thing I should note is that you do get some like mountains and hills in this cluster in general. It's quite hilly along the river, like the main river. Let me show you guys what that is. Basically this whole like river here. It's quite hilly along this river. And also Ufa has a decent amount of mountains as well, especially this area over here. But like this will a lot of it will only be summer coverage, while, you know, the South is autumn coverage. However, sometimes it's a little hard to tell, admittedly. So yeah, it is kind of a difficult antenna type, I think. But yeah. And then lastly, we're going to get to these kind of like northern clusters, and then over here. I don't know how to identify a lot of these. Like this one, like, I don't know, you're kind of just unlucky, I feel like. Unless you just memorize these roads. I guess you could. I mean, look at this white gravel. I feel like you could already memorize this road just from the white gravel alone. It feels very distinct. But yeah, I don't know. A lot of these just look more sort of northern, I guess. You know, some of them are more open. Some of them are just kind of dense forests that you wouldn't really get in something like Ufa, right? It looks different. Yeah, and then this road is is this the Martial road? I think it is. This is a memorable road from Learnable Russia, actually. Learnable Russia map. But yeah, it's blurred antenna with that road angle, so pretty gettable there. And now for these clusters here, I have never successfully identified these clusters, I don't think. So good luck. We had the white sand there, so that makes that learnable road kind of nullified there. But yeah, these kind of look more like Moscow. I mean, that's the best way I can describe it. It doesn't look quite right for a lot of stuff, even north of Ufa, but it's very hard to tell. I don't even know if I'd risk it, frankly. One thing I can say for this area, like if you get some of these roads, they are going northwest. Like this one, it looks kind of like Moscow. It is going at a northwest road angle, and it is kind of a highway, right? So maybe that's gettable. This one, kind of the same thing, although this is a smaller road. This one's going to the northeast, and yeah, I don't know. This one's a little harder, but yeah. If you get these clusters, I think you're mostly unlikely. I would mostly click Ufa or the South. But anyways, guys, that's it for blurred type. Definitely one of the harder ones, I think. But yeah, hopefully it helped a little bit. At least you know where to hedge now at the least. And if you guys enjoyed, consider leaving a like and subscribing. And I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.